Hi, and welcome back to Just Ask the Question. I'm your host, Brian Karem, and with me, a fellow nerd avenger, an independent journalist, well-known bon vivant about town, Wajahat Ali. Waj, how you doing, brother?
I'm exhausted, man. I've been, it's pretty exhausting keeping up with the news because we have a desperate, corrupt, sinking, fading authoritarian who, instead of pivoting, is deciding to double down on all his worst impulses and is engaging in, it seems like, 24/7 Festivus, and using any and all crises not to, I don't know, have some self-reflection and engage in better policy, but to go against his enemies. So as of now, I'm seeing maybe you have some breaking news, but you got James Comey indicted again. You got this fight against Jimmy Kimmel with Brendan Carr being unleashed against him, blaming the left for violence. Blah 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 blah. Oh yeah. Also, Iran apparently it's a stage of collapse. No, they're not. And then no release of the Epstein files. And last time I checked, grocery prices and gas prices are still high. But other than that, Brian, everything's going great.
So enough about Pete Hegseth. What about Donald Trump? So why I wanted to talk to you is I've been working this week, of course, on the fallout and follow up to the WHCA event, and you
Of
wrote a
course.
pretty interesting piece that I liked, and it was I wanted to talk to you about get rid of main well, I call it corporate media, but you're saying it should be done and over with.
I think, like figuratively burn down corporate media. I call it corporate media as well, to separate it from all the other media, because they're not going to change. Look, this is my take. I think the past week revealed it. It's an ossified, cancerous institution that I think does more bad than good. First and foremost, the White House Correspondents Dinner had this, really amusing legacy. For those who don't know, president used to come, all the journalists used to come. It's one day, it's nerd prom. They bring a comedian. The comedian sometimes lightly, sometimes viciously roast the president. Guess what? The president, whether Republican or Democrat, gets a chance to roast back. You have a good time, you go home. All right, you raise money for scholarships, you give awards to your colleagues who've done a good job. Great, fine. You like it, you don't like it, but benign. Because of Donald Trump, Brian, this man who is so fickle, so weak, just like any other authoritarian, he can dish it, but he can't take it. They have repeatedly bent the knee to a wannabe dictator who has unleashed stochastic terrorism against the free press, refers to anyone and everyone who's part of the media as enemy of the state, which is Stalin's language that was used to purge them, has just threatened to unleash, investigations and prosecutions against journalists. He doesn't like Fox News. We know Kash Patel and the FBI, investigated the
New York
NYT
Times.
journalist as girlfriend, right? Exactly. A person who has just openly just tweeted genocidal content, mocked the Pope, mocked Christianity, mocked Muslims. A person who has openly said, beat him up, I'll pay for your bills, beat him up. There's a person right now in prison, Caesar Sayok, who in the first Trump administration, based on all the enemies that Trump mentioned, he sent functional pipe bombs to these people, including CNN headquarters. He's in jail for like 2 decades, right? You've seen Donald Trump, openly incite a violent insurrection, and on and on and on and on. And as you're seeing this, Donald Trump decides to attend the White House Correspondents' Dinner for the first time as president,
Why do
where
you think that was?
because we know that he was going to get an hour. He had an hour speech, and what we've been told and what was reported is in that hour speech, he was going to use that hour to mock and ridicule his critics, including the press. Furthermore, they know that they got rid of the comedian and brought in the mentalist. We also know is that Larry
There's
Ellison.
a straight line that begs for a bunch of punchlines about a mentalist, but I'm going to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's all there. Yeah, people and Larry Ellison and David Ellison, the billionaire father and son team, last Thursday, folks, last Thursday, ahead of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, held a party in D.C. And who attended the party? Donald Trump. And what do the Ellisons own? CBS and Paramount. And as a
And what are
result
they
of
trying to
merger,
buy? CNN.
CNN and Warner Brothers and Comedy Central and HBO. And so the day after the White House Correspondents' Dinner and the security breach, Where did Donald Trump go for his interview? He went to Norah O'Donnell on, wait for it, CBS News 60 Minutes, where we found out it was heavily edited. And the reason why he released that, even though I think the most damning thing that people will remember from it is I'm not a pedophile, I'm not a racist, a rapist, is because he mocked and
You're a
ridiculed Norah.
disgrace.
You're a disgrace, is because they kept that in there. So he's like, see that? I got her. I called her a disgrace. I mocked her. He's not realizing that him releasing that, saying I'm not a pedophile and I'm not a rapist, is the only thing people remember. But I say all this is after all of that, after literally, Brian, he mocks and ridicules Norah O'Donnell in the interview. You know what Norah O'Donnell says at the end? I really want to thank you for coming to the White House Correspondents Dinner. What did PBS write? I think Donald Trump has a changed tone. What did my advisor at Atlantic write? You know what? Donald Trump, after the security breach, he had a different tone. He could have attacked the media. He didn't. Brian, what are Brian? Brian.
Yes, I'm waiting.
After all of this, they still think the man that wants to kill them. So to which I say, I'll end my rant.
Me. Me.
Yeah,
He wants.
yeah.
I'm glad. See,
This is
I'm
their fetish.
glad someone else sees it.
Their fetish is that I'm not judging anyone's fetish. They're the gimp from Pulp Fiction. They want Daddy Donald Trump to paddle them, put a ball in their mouth,
Well,
and then like hurt them. And I'm saying the entirety of the event, the post event, and the commentary, they will not change. They're not capable of changing. This is who they are. This is who they want to be. It must be burned down. Sorry for my
okay.
rant.
No, I'm glad for the rant. All right, so here's my take. First of all, the exploitation is the coin of the realm in Washington, D.C.
Mm.
The shooter exploited the situation. Donald Trump exploited the situation. And damn if the reporters didn't exploit the situation. A friend of mine who left, his wife was in the bathroom. He had to leave to get her. And then they left. He goes, I've had enough of this. My colleagues are nuts. Supposedly, while everybody's going how dangerous it is, he walked to the bathroom to get his wife, and someone said, "Hey, you stepped into my live stream. It's dangerous here." And then it's all it, and then you have like Wolf Blitzer saying, "I was there. It was dangerous." Well,
he rushed past me. I thought
yeah,
the shooter was gonna kill me. And
yeah.
then I'm
Well,
like, oh my
how
God.
many? Here's living inside the bubble of Washington D.C. Do they not realize there's been 148 mass shootings in this country since the beginning of the year, one every 3/4 of a day? If you're a teenager living in Southeast DC, Brooklyn, Chicago, Cabrini Green, if you're in LA, San Francisco, gunshots are not unheard of. We are a violence country. And at the end of the day, he wants to blame violent rhetoric for what he says an insane person did. Why aren't we starting with the fact that it's an insane person? And perhaps if we just kept guns out of the hands of insane people, we would have a start at solving some of the problems. So to me, it's always that my colleagues miss the point. And I think to your point, you have a small number of large corporations that now dictate what everybody must do. And so if you want to keep your job, you have to bend the knee or you're out on your ass. And many of them would not know how to operate in an independent environment. And at the same time, it's frightening to me that we simply don't get it. As you said, this is who they are, this is what they will be. And I spent 43 years in this business and I'm pissed. I am unbelievably pissed at how at the lack of independence that we show and the fealty that is maintained.
It's
I,
it's
I'm
it's
with you at this point. It's
yeah,
like if you adhere to, I'm sorry, if you adhere to the precepts of journalism, vetted factual information, and speaking truth to power, I don't care if you're so-called independent or you're or mainstream or corporate. That's a journalism job, but we're not doing the job.
it's it's one of those situations where I tell people, Brian, it's been 10 years. It's not 1 year, it's not 2 years, it's not 3 years, it's not 5 years, it's 10 years. What more do people need to see? The corporate media is not going to change. They don't have the agility. And I'm going to take it a step further and echo what I said a couple of minutes ago. They don't want to change. They don't want to change. You know how the town works, Brian. For
You know
those who don't,
why?
tell them.
Well, the reason why is because of the notoriety, the fame, and the ability to have access. It's all
There you
about
go.
me instead of that's the story, story, story. It's always
Absolutely.
about the it's always about, you know, if it were a real serious situation in that in the banquet room that night, the guy sitting there eating his salad wouldn't have been eating his salad. And the reporters who scrambled and then came back and shot live shots, the president was never in imminent danger.
No,
It
security breach.
yeah, it was a security breach, and they tackled his ass. No one got killed, and they brought him down pretty quickly.
Yeah,
So
and he was on another floor. He was on the upper floor, not
yes,
in the room,
I know.
and he had to go through a couple of more. Thank God, had he breached more, he had to go to like 3 or 4 more securities to breach even the room. He didn't do that.
And if
So
his gun was fired, the one thing the president could have been shot. Only if the bullet could go downstairs, turn right, and then across the stage, down another set of, and then up. No, there was they had him before then.
yeah, and the fact is, look at how these people behaved. First, they went to the dinner. I think it is unforgivable and inexcusable, especially if you voluntarily chose. Now, there's some people, their job is they have to cover it. I don't blame you. Like you have to
Yes,
go, okay. But let's be honest. Most people did not have to go. Let me repeat. Most people did not have to go.
including
They
me. I didn't
wanted to.
go because of it.
Yeah, and back in the day, the White House Correspondents Dinner is that dinner that everyone, what's the invite to? And they're like, oh, you work at MSNBC, the table only has 20. And people are like, oh, I hope I could be one of the 20. CNN says I
Yeah.
have a table of 40. I hope I'd be one of the 40. So they chose to go. Then, after this kind of like meh event where literally he never broached, he wasn't close, security was lax as F because these people are incompetent. But even then, thankfully, he was caught.
The entry security, I'll push back. The entry security, you're right, was lax, but the response teams did their job.
Yeah, yeah. The entry security was lax, and they didn't treat this as the high level security that they should have because you had so many. You know, someone was telling me that if, God forbid, if let's suppose there was another assassin, suppose there was just a completely unhinged person who brought a
Yeah.
bomb, blows up the entire White House Correspondents' Dinner. Um, that means our president right now would be Chuck Grassley. So for that, I mean, you know, and people are like, oh, you know, conspiracy
Well, that would be
theories.
an improvement.
He's only 142 years old.
Yeah.
Uh, and you know the thing is this, but people say, you know, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, and unfortunately, that's what happens when you have an untrustworthy president and who keeps lying, and people don't
Exploits
have faith
things.
in the
Yeah.
media, and people don't have faith in Cash Patel. I remember I was there in D.C. outside at the Substack party. I said, I will not be surprised if Staged starts trending. I look at my phone, Staged is still trending. That's what happens, folks. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. But I'm telling you all that those journalists, not only did they do selfies and do streams looking at themselves and not the actual, you know, event, then they went back and took all the champagne, and then they continued partying at the after parties, Brian.
Yeah, well, I can't blame him for taking the champagne. I will never eat. I have been to about 15 of those events, and the champagne is about the best thing there. The rubber chicken circuit. The guy who sat, my hero was the guy who sat and ate the salad.
No,
I'm going,
that guy
have
was
you ever,
awesome.
if you've ever been to one of those, dinners, every part of the dinner sucks. It's not that good. I heard they donated it to homeless shelters after. It's good. That was something positive came from it. But what frustrates me, and I chose not to go to anything that night. My wife and I stayed home and made ribeye steaks on the grill and enjoyed our night because it's so unnerving to me. I want I want a press that is pushes back, is responsive, vets the facts, and then gives you, if you're going to give us an opinion, give us a labeled opinion and let people decide for themselves. There's so much out there. And instead, we either get accused of being too far to the right or too far to the left. And it's the corporate media in particular is unnerving to me what it's become. It's not when I first walked in there, man. I mean, Helen Thomas and Sam Donaldson and you would never know who they voted for. They gave everybody shit. I loved it. That was their, as Sam explained to me, it's the president's job to put his best foot forward. It's our job to hold him accountable. And we just don't do it anymore.
And because it's these people, look, And then did you see Dana Bash do the both sides,
My God.
which was
With Jamie Raskin.
who
First,
I thought Jamie Raskin should have been more bold. You see,
yeah,
the thing is this.
I
Hold
think
on.
it was his eye. He just had an operation.
Yeah, because I would have said, "Shut the f up. I'm done with this bullshit." That's what I would have said. Cut this
Well,
bullshit out. And I think that's where a majority of people are. I'm telling you, Brian. Even when I was there on the street, right? I was trying to get in the Substack party. I did not get invited to the White House Correspondents Dinner. I would never go. But there was a new media party where a lot of our friends were, and Mehdi Hassan, I blame Mehdi. Mehdi is like, "Oh, go to it. I can't go." And then my wife said, "Well, if Mehdi's saying go, go." So I'm like, "Fine." And then I went. And as soon as I was about to get into the party, all this happened. So they were stuck inside, and we were all stuck outside. And I could tell you, DC was calm. I'm walking down. I'm looking at the residents. They're like, "What happened?" They're like, "Oh, shots fired." They're like, "Did they get him?" No. They're like, "Whatever." Like nobody cared, right? And then they're like, "Oh, he's alive. Great. What happened?" "Oh, they caught someone who was a floor away. Fine, whatever." Rolling their eyes, dejected. Like the fact is that people are so over it, Brian, right? And so the fact that Dana Bash did the both sides bullshit, I would have just said, stop with the both sides bullshit. Just be blunt, and you will have the majority with you. It's only corporate media that engages in this. Don't call them deplorable. Both sides. Charlie Kirk did politics the right way, and I think they're
wait a
completely
minute, wait a minute,
devoid.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Charlie Kirk did politics the right way.
You don't remember that Ezra
Yeah.
Klein wrote that?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
know. I go
yeah.
back to that, and every time I hear that, I go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." That's what wait a minute,
But
time
they're
out for this
so
important commercial message.
they're completely in the anus of power, and they're all auditioning for their
Accessibility.
new boss, Larry and David Ellison, especially Dana Bash and Jake Tapper.
What would don't get me started. All right, so what if you were to set up a news organization the way you'd like it to be, what would it look like?
First and foremost, I would have more of a firewall between the revolving door between media and politics. Goes both for the Democratic side and the Republican side. I'd be much more judicious, meaning if you served and you're like a Democratic or Republican operative, I wouldn't have the revolving door that you have, say, with MAGA and Fox. I would also have much more diversity in the sense of when it comes to type of journalists. I would get like not just ethnicity in women, but also international journalists and also social media, like people who have different pulse on different environments, right? So I would get like your traditional trained reporters, people like you. Then I would get social media folks. Then I would get people who are going to Instagram. Then I would get people who are going on TikTok. I would have a type of guidelines, ethical values that this is how we treat everyone down the line. You're right. And like, you can't take money from here. You have to disclose this, right?
Yeah, there's a start.
Yeah, if you are part of this new organization, these are the ethics and the values that guide us. And if you're seen violating that, regardless of your station, there's going to be penalties. I would also have the ethos that we challenge power. And what I would have there is,
Whether you agree with them or not, you've got
yeah,
to be
you
able to
challenge
challenge them.
power. Yeah, you challenge them. You said this statement today and you said this other statement yesterday, AOC. How do you reconcile that? Or you say that you want to hold AI accountable, but you just took money from an AI lobbying firm. Why did you do that? Why are you taking money from Palantir? A majority of Americans say abolish ICE. Why are you still supporting ICE, right? I would also ensure that we have a new model other than corporate media. Because the second that you have corporations take over media, the North Star of corporations is not the truth. It's not, being a fourth estate. It's not holding power accountable. You know this, Brian. The North Star
Limit
is
ownership.
it's access to power, it's influence, it's ratings, it's money.
You've got to limit own. I will. So as I hear you describing it as the insider, I will say I agree. But what I also hear you saying is that we need to hire more researchers so that
Yes.
we know the questions to ask, and editors who make sure that we're editing for fact and content, not based on a particular ideology. Would that be
Yeah, no,
accurate?
yeah, skilled. I want diversity in skills, and
Yes.
what unites them is this ethical spine that,
And
like,
editors who uphold it. It's got to
yeah,
be
exactly.
the
Editors,
gatekeepers have to.
producers,
Yeah.
anchors, researchers, a team. Because you and I know it's very rarely just one person. It's a team. Like when I used to do Al
There you
Jazeera,
go. Journalism is a team effort. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember I did okay.
And when
Every
I'm
day.
sorry, and when I was talking about editors, I was talking about those who edit copy editors,
Yeah, yeah,
who,
but all of it, all of it. I
yeah,
remember when I was co-hosting Al Jazeera America's The Stream. All right, it was a live 30-minute show every day, 5 days a week. And you would say, "Oh, 30 minutes. Wow, you got the gift of the gab. You could just turn on the camera." But no, every day to get a new live show meant publicist, excuse me, a interview producer had to go get a talent, two or three people. We had to have the crew on set, light, studio, mics, right? We had to have researchers
yeah,
research the topic at hand. We had to have the producers overlooking everything. We had to have me and the lead anchor research everything. Then there was a social media component because I was a co-host and social media producer. So then I had a social media team promote the show of the day, and then
it's nice
solicit
to have
response.
people working with you, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and to solicit questions from the audience because we want, the stream at that time was cutting edge. We brought in Skype and Instagram and tweets, and people are like, "What the hell? A tweet? Skype? That's gross." And now you see how people are, right? So we did that stuff like years ago.
Yeah, we
In
did too.
order to do that, Brian, it was like 20 people, man, every day. And then while someone was working on Monday's show, you'd have like 7 people getting ahead on Tuesday's show. And then I
And
used to go
Wednesdays
there,
and Thursdays.
and yeah, I used to go there, go in the morning, cram, work all day, do the live show, come back afterwards, wait for it, and do an audit of what we could do better. Then picked up dinner, went home, and then like saw my wife at 9:30 just to
Yes.
put off one show.
And none of that included sucking up to Barry Weiss or having a contract, a government contract to ruin the ability for you to be independent. I'll go back to, and I'd like to get your take on this. This was a mentor of mine. And I'll just read the quote. Never forget
Please.
that your obligation is to the people, it is not at heart to those who pay you, or to your editor, or to your sources, or to your friends, or to the advancement of your career. It is to the public. That was Ben Bagdikian from the Washington Post, who helped expose I mean, it was part of the Watergate coverage, but also before that, when the New York Times and the Post broke the stories on Vietnam, he was part of that, Pentagon Papers. So I go back to that. So new media to me and independent media to me, when it holds to the ethics that I was raised to, I embrace it because it's not in corporate media anymore. I find it rarely anywhere, and that is the most disheartening thing to me. After being, this is the only thing I've ever done, man. Is is be a reporter, and to watch it, it's disheartening to me.
And, and
I
and you said the team, even the team part. You mentioned this a lot, Brian.
Yeah,
Like you've said this a lot, and I want to echo something. Is that when Donald Trump mocks and ridicules journalists to their face in the
oh,
White House press room, or when there's a gaggle, or when they're like an Air Force One, or when he's on the tarmac and he mocks and ridicules, especially women, for the love of God, or when he
push.
lies blatantly, they're like, "You're a loser. I don't. You're mean." Next, whoever comes up next, say, "I want to stand up for my." You didn't answer
Yeah,
that question, but I want to repeat what my colleague just asked. What? How come you haven't released the Epstein files? Or a professor, it's not professor, gosh, a president, a professor, like, yeah, a moron, with the PhD from Trump University. President Trump, how do you respond to all the people who think you're a misogynist and you're distasteful when call our colleagues pigs? Something they don't even
yeah.
stand up for each other.
I told him if they let this guy in here, he's nothing but trouble. That's what he was telling me. And I was asking him a question based on what he had said. And at least, when Jim Acosta got into it with him, Peter Alexander was there and said, "No, Mr. President, wait a minute. Jim's a colleague of mine. He's a good reporter. You're as bad as he is." Then when I got into it with him, Jim stood up for me. April Ryan did, others. And when April got in trouble, but there's not that today. There's and honestly, it was rare in the first administration. There were a few of us who did it, but now I see almost no one standing up and pushing back in his face the way you have to. And I know they go, well, that's a reporter wanting to make themselves the center of attention. No, that's the president deflecting from the question to go after the person who's asking the question, to make it look like they're trying to. The guy who's actually wanting the viral moment is the guy in the briefing room who stands up and goes, the mainstream media view is this, but gosh, isn't President Trump the greatest guy since sliced bread? That's the guy who wants his viral moment. He's asking a question that's been handpicked by Donald Trump.
I mean, absolutely. And this is why I think people are done, Brian. I think people are just completely done. And I think that White House Correspondents Dinner, the shots fired, the brouhaha, the exploitation of it, the self-congratulatory type of martyrdom from Wolf Blitzer and all these other people, right? The trauma bonding. Oh, it was so traumatic. I'm like, shut the F up. I can't stand it, Brian. There are people. Israel has killed more journalists in 2025 than any other
people
country.
Will deny that, and it pisses. Sorry, I hate to interrupt.
I'm serious. Like, there's people in Ukraine,
too.
There's people in Gaza right now. Even with press jackets, they have killed the press. That Shireen Abu Akleh, who's a U.S. citizen, they don't give a shit about her. I would have liked them to lead with that. The Committee to Protect Journalism has said that Israel has killed more journalists than any other country on earth. We want to honor these journalists.
And this last year, more than 29, almost 3 dozen reporters. So let me ask you this. Yeah. Here's a proposition from a former member of the White House Correspondents Association. In the future, for the WHCA dinner, get rid of the entertainers, limit the appearance of U.S. presidents to those already out of office who can sit at the round tables and mingle with aspiring presidential candidates. Put the award recipients, including the scholarship winners, at the head table.
Absolutely, because how many people even know that there is a scholarship?
What they're there for? Exactly. Instead of it's just reporters mingling with celebrities and politicians, trying once again to be part of a club they'll never be a part of. We're not there to be a part of that club. We're there to report on it.
I think it needs to end. I think the dinner should end. I think they're dinosaurs. I think they should be mocked and ridiculed. And I think this past week has made a lot of people wake up and realize what are we doing? What's happening? I gotta go talk to Katie Fang.
Let me tell Katie I said hi. Let me close with this last question from you. So where do you see us 5 years from now in the press?
I think, sadly, things will be more disjointed. I think it's the wild, wild west. I think more of these corporate organizations will be taken over by the oligarchs. As such, there'll be a monopolization of local news, national news, and newspapers. More and more people will turn them off. And I think a quote-unquote new media will emerge within new media. Organically, I hope that people will go to sources that they trust. The sad part is it will be more of an atomization of our communities, more atomization of news, balkanization, if you will. Yeah, more of a fracturing, which I don't think is beneficial in any way, shape, or form for national unity. I think the water cooler conversations probably be a thing of the past because people get their news from their own curated reality. But that's probably going to be the next 5 years, Brian.
Yeah. I agree, Waj. Look, man, thanks for joining us. I'd love to have you back. Anything, it's always good to talk to a fellow Nerd Avenger. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Oh, wait a minute. You got to plug. What are you going to plug?
The Left Hook. I'm on the lefthook.substack.com, folks. Everything is free. Please come by. I'm also on YouTube. There's no paywalls. Fantastic conversations with people like Brian, other Nerd Avengers. So I try to post something every day.
There you go. This is Just Ask the Question. I'm your host, Brian Karem. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.